Jungkook tried everything. He tried serving his purpose as husband. He cooked for his husband every single morning. He greeted him every night when he came home too. He acted nice to him, but Taehyung did the exact opposite. He acted like Jungkook was not there, as if he was invisible. He acted cold and busy every time. It has been almost a month and this kept on happening. It didn't feel like they were a couple at all. They were just like strangers living under one roof. One day, Jungkook woke up feeling tired. He didn't even wanna get up. He only moved when a maid came to his room, saying his husband was finally up. It was Taehyung's day off, and Jungkook planned to make everything for him. He planned to get his husband's attention and maybe have a decent conversation with him if he was fortunate. He planned to make him breakfast, a toast with coffee since the older didn't like eating heavy food in the morning. Taehyung was also picky about what food to eat, and Jungkook sometimes thought of him as a pregnant woman. But Jungkook let it all go, laughing the thoughts away because at least, even though Taehyung ignored him and all, he was still eating everything he made. But that was not what happened that day. Jungkook was too tired to make Taehyung his breakfast. Too tired to even walk down the stairs into the kitchen. Too tired to talk to anyone. So Jungkook went straight to the dining table, sat on his chair in front of his husband, and stayed there until the maid served their food. It was quiet when they were eating, but he often felt the man glance at him. Taehyung drank his coffee, which in his opinion didn't taste like his usual morning coffee at all, while Jungkook lazily played with his food. "Can't we have cereals instead?" he asked, frowning at the dry food on his plate. To say that Taehyung was surprised was too plain. That was the first time that Jungkook asked for something. He was always silent, always obedient. He didn't complain about anything even though he didn't like something. From what Taehyung heard from his workers, Jungkook was a good person. They said he didn't look down on someone, mainly because he experienced being slumped in the mud too. He was friendly, he befriended even the poorest person working for his husband. He was a good cook too, his favorite place in that mansion being the kitchen. Everyone said he would be a good husband. He dreamed to be one as well. So Taehyung found it weird when he started complaining. Jungkook didn't whine so much, but for Taehyung, the younger felt different. Or maybe he just didn't know him too well. After all, they just lived together 3 weeks ago and he didn't spend those time with him. Taehyung knows he should feel guilty for spending most of his evenings outside, sometimes sitting inside a bar drinking too much until he couldn't anymore, and sometimes having with someone he didn't even know. He knew those were the reasons why he ended up being trapped with Jungkook, but he just couldn't stop himself. He didn't want to stop himself. He wanted to show his husband. God, he despised that word, that he didn't care about him. He didn't want to be trapped in a contract made by his parents for him. He didn't want Jungkook to live with him, let alone be his husband. He was never used to living his life to the fullest, and he knew he would never feel the happiness that he deserved. Oh wait, did he deserve to be happy in the first place? Taehyung knew how other people saw him, an arrogant jerk, a heartless, an arsehole. His father even saw him as a useless son, so why would he bother making a good impression on everybody else? Only his mother loved him, loved the way he was, loved him even when he failed, and loved him even when he started doubting himself. Taehyung only loved her as well. Only her and no one else. You could say he was stupid. He wasn't mean, nor rude. He was just a boy striving for success, for his father to look at him in a different light. He wanted him to see him as a man of dignity, pride, and honor, not as a humiliation. But of course, this man, Jungkook, just had to destroy everything for him. Now he didn't have any chance to prove himself to his father anymore. He was just back to being that useless boy, all hard work gone to waste. This was why he didn't recognize Jungkook's efforts. He didn't look at him like how his mother looked at his father. He didn't try to act cold towards him because it came out naturally after years of being like that. He didn't try to give Jungkook a chance to, and that was his biggest mistake. Because whenever he saw Jungkook's face, all he remembered was how he got him into this mess. It was stupid, but he was stupid as well. So when Jungkook started complaining about his food, he instantly got the attention that he has been trying to get. Taehyung looked at him with one eyebrow raised. That one reaction immediately stopped all the whines that were trying to escape Jungkook's mouth though. So instead of continuing his complaints, he quietly ate his food with a visible pout on his lips. Taehyung finally admitted it then. Jungkook was obedient. But what surprised him was that he found him kinda cute too. Taehyung didn't see Jungkook do anything. He didn't see him cook food that morning for him. He didn't see him make his coffee as well. He didn't see the excited glint in his eyes like usual every time he ate with him. He just saw his tiredness. He felt his exhaustion. He was worried, but he wouldn't admit it, so he just shrugged it off. He secretly watched Jungkook as he walked lazily to the couch and slumped his body to sit on it. He secretly watched him turn on and watch until he fell asleep. He thought he was gonna see Jungkook become a little too enthusiastic about him staying the day at home. He thought he was gonna see Jungkook's big smile or his hopeful eyes. But he didn't. And he didn't care. So Taehyung let him be, and he let him sleep on the couch until his back hurt. Stayed with him, watching the movie that was flashing as he sat beside the younger, glancing at him now and then. Taehyung watched his head fall every second and rise again after another. It was funny. He was only waiting for Jungkook to fall on his side, but his head fell on his shoulder instead. Taehyung froze, not knowing what to do. He wanted to push him away, but at the same time, let him sleep peacefully on his shoulder. So he did the latter. He was still sane, maybe just gaining a little heart for Jungkook, but still the same. He knew that the man was only staying with him because he was told to do so. Jungkook owed him his image but gained his surname in return. After all, they threatened him that if he didn't marry Taehyung for publicity, then he would get fired from his job and they would make his life a living hell after that. Jungkook still got fired though, but at least now he was living a heavenly life in a mansion. He could even buy anything he wanted, but he didn't once touch their money. He didn't have the guts to do so. What he wanted was Taehyung's love, but Taehyung didn't even know that. An hour or two passed and Jungkook started stirring up from his position, slowly waking up from his sleep. Taehyung froze again, not knowing what to do if the younger found out that he let him sleep on his shoulder. Fortunately for him, Jungkook didn't say anything about it. Maybe blushed for a minute, but didn't say a thing. The moment Jungkook woke up, he was like another person to the older. The last time he recalled, Jungkook was acting so lazy, but now he was full of life. Where did the sudden energy even come from? Jungkook immediately showed him a wide smile, as if he didn't just wake up. He was usually shy around the older after their wedding, but now he was back to being the Jian Jungkook he used to be. He baked cookies for Taehyung for snacks. The older ate it without glancing at him like usual, but Jungkook smiled the whole time. They were watching another movie Jungkook picked when he got a message from Jimin. His expression slowly dropped when he read it, and the older noticed that. He didn't ask why though. Jungkook slowly raised his head to look at Taehyung, nervously fidgeting with his fingers as he contemplated whether to ask him or not. "My friend just texted me," he trailed off, barely receiving a hum as a response, but he continued. "He was asking if they could come and visit me. It's been so long since I last saw them. Can they please come?" His voice was laced with so much determination and eagerness as he pleaded, so Taehyung finally turned his eyes towards the younger, only to see rather big hopeful blue eyes staring back at him with ardor. How could he say no to that? So he said yes in the most normal way he could. Okay, Jungkook knew his rules, so he also knew his limits. But his friends didn't. The minute they entered the house, they started throwing all looks at the house's interior and furniture. They were like tigers on a hunt. Jungkook tried to calm them, but they didn't even glance at him. Jungkook nervously looked at Taehyung, chuckling anxiously at himself when he saw the older's eyebrows furrowing at the scene. "Guys, settle down please," Jungkook shouted after a while of calming his friends, finally getting their attention. He turned back to his husband, who now has an eyebrow raised at him. "Sorry," he mumbled softly. When his friends saw Taehyung sitting on the couch wearing his casual clothes, they started rambling again, but now with a different topic. Taehyung was not fond of any kind of noise. He was not fond of people as well, especially when they were strangers to him. So when those strangers made noises, he almost exploded in anger. Luckily, his husband was there to console him. Or so he tried. Jungkook would check on him every time his friends did something extravagant, and although he would do nothing after that, the creases on his forehead would cease. It was as if they understood each other with just a glance. Taehyung watched them as they enjoyed each other's company. He watched Jungkook's two friends create noises while he tried to stop them. He watched them as they laughed at silly stories. He would glare at them when it became too much, but he would also smile unconsciously when he found them cute. He wasn't sure if he enjoyed his free time watching a bunch of boys bond, but he enjoyed seeing a whole new side of his husband. And of course, he wouldn't admit that. Taehyung liked his coffee bittersweet. You could say he was a picky eater because he was. He liked the sweetness and bitterness of it in balance. He usually praised his secretary in his mind for making his coffee the way he liked it every morning. No one other than her got how he exactly wanted it, so yes, here's his favorite. He forgot how it tasted oftentimes, but when he tasted it again, he immediately remembered how the taste made him feel alive. How it smoothly flowed on his tongue and soothed his lips. But at some point in time, his secretary started making his coffee differently. He didn't understand why, but he didn't ask why either. He only tasted it again when Jungkook became his husband. He heard the maid say that he made his coffee every morning, and he started thinking that maybe, just maybe, Jungkook was the one who made his coffee at the company too. Mornings for him were different after Jungkook's friends visited though. Taehyung was back to being the busy man that he was, so mornings and nights were his time left for his husband again, if he even gave him his time. Mornings were his favorite time of the day because he got to drink his coffee without asking for it. His husband would just put the cup down in front of him and that was it. His morning was already complete. So when his coffee wasn't served by his husband that morning, a frown quickly crawled into his face. He immediately knew something wasn't right. "Where's Jungkook?" he asked. For the first time, he showed concern for the younger. Or maybe the maids just thought he did. "He's still in his room," Sir. He hasn't woken up from his sleep yet. Even though the maid's answer was suspicious, he shrugged it off because maybe Jungkook was just tired from all the energy he released the night before. Talking to your friends for about 5 hours or so was exhausting, after all, so he let it go.